check out the Mardi Gras World Museum today. Today's the last day in New Orleans for Mardi Gras and my whole time out here, so should be cool. Check it out with me.
Here are your tickets, guys. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Everything is a little bit plus size here, as you can tell. Plus size ballerina, plus size pumpkinhead, plus sky witter, plus size wizard, plus size cat. Imagine trying to pull this thing out right here for a proposal. You know, like get down on one knee, hold this thing like up over your head, giant ring. I'm basically, you know, the Super Bowl champion for 2024. Right here, I'm taking this bad boy home with me on the plane. Found good old Captain Morgan right here. Got a little captain in you. Y'all remember Goldfinger for Nintendo 64? Okay, 10 things you didn't know about Mardi Gras. Here, number 1, Mardi Gras is the French term for Fat Tuesday. Number 2, the first North American Mardi Gras was celebrated in Alabama, not Louisiana. Number 3, the traditional colors are purple, green, and gold. Number 4, the king cake, a traditional dessert, has biblical roots. Number 5, Mardi Gras became the celebration we know today because of a secret society. Number 6, there are more than 70 secret societies involved in today's Mardi Gras. Number 7, Russian royalty has attended the New Orleans festivities. Number 8, each year one ruler is anointed as King of the Carnival. Number 9, it is illegal to wear masks in New Orleans except on Mardi Gras. Number 10, each crew hurls party favors into the crowd. 10 things you didn't know about Mardi Gras.
Day before Ash Wednesday is simply called Tuesday. But way down yonder in New Orleans, or New Orleans as the locals pronounce it, it's Mardi Gras.
Trying our first king cake here. King cake.
They own the boats themselves, but we own the props. So after the parade is over, they come back to our England glory. And our sirens here are a great example of this. So it is a light, off-white, expansive foam adhesive. Now that's great for styrofoam because that means it bonds to everything and it expands so it fills in the air pockets in between your slab. So you'll have a little bit of extra structural integrity there, but that's not going to be enough. We're going to have to glue some other stuff in there to make sure they stay tough. And so what we include is what we call an armature. And basically think of it as a skeleton for your styrofoam. We're going to use plywood, and you can see where we've got some leftover cutouts from random statues before. We also use 2x4s and 4x4s, and we use flexible metal rods for the smaller parts like fingers that are too narrow to put wood into. This is very important because there are a lot of hazards on the parade route. For one, there's going to be weather. Things don't get canceled for rain, and that rain could be very strong. It might actually damage the statue if it's not reinforced. There's also every year. It's definitely worth checking out. If you got shows, so you might have seen this in an episode of Amazing Race, or an episode of This Is American Idol, or an episode of New Orleans NCIS. So anything you miss on the first pass, you still have time to come back and see. So have some fun, guys.
Wow, these things are huge, bro. So this warehouse has been here since like, what, 1909? Is that when it was? Yeah, this warehouse has been here basically since the start of Mardi Gras. Maybe not that long, but you can see it's raining inside. It's raining, and that's just the way things go around here because it is what it is here at Mardi Gras.
Floats, except for this weird one over here that I don't know what it is. These are all signature floats in here. So the green ones that you see are from Orpheus, and the Pegasus is from Iris. Now that one's an animatronic, so the wings on that one flap. We also have Trombone Shorty hiding behind the Pegasus, which is from Ferret. That one's also animatronic, so the elbow moves, which makes it look like he's playing trombone. And Trombone Shorty also rides on that float every time it goes out, so make sure you check it going out. All these bags are new up here. But so, when we build a float, we start with a steel chassis because one of this size will hold 60 riders. A single-decker float is likely to hold closer to 40, and each one of those people is going to bring a whole day's worth of supplies. That's your food, your beverages, and of course the throws. Now throws are the stuff that we love to throw to you guys. Those beads, cups, doubloons, stuffed animals, plastic spears, moon pies, Kanye glasses, coconuts, plungers, cabbages, stilettos. These are all real throws. I'm not making any of that up for the record. But no matter what parade you're in or what you're throwing off the float, that stuff's not going to be given to you for free. You have to buy your own supplies. Now, if you are a thrifty or spender, you're going to bring probably closer to 200 pounds of stuff with you. Whereas if you are a big spender, upwards of 400 pounds of stuff. And every one of the people on the float's going to be doing that. That means it's going to get really heavy, really fast. So the tires have to hold up to that weight. As I've already brought up, we use solid rubber tires, so you'll never have a flat, no matter what potholes you hit or how heavy your float is. And now, the hooks up here are in every available square inch. They're not just going to be on the back walls there. A lot of times they're on the interior walls, and some of the floats will have racks sticking up out of the ground with hooks on them too. We are going to try to provide you with about 1,000,001 places to hang those beads, because in my experience, nothing is easier to tangle than Mardi Gras beads, and nothing is harder to untangle than the Gordian knot that Mardi Gras beads can become. So that will save you some stress and effort, but the more important hooks are going to be these hooks. These are what I call the people hooks. These are going to save EMS workers stress and effort. And that's important because they'll be very stressed and very efforted for those last 2 weeks of Mardi Gras. So it's a moving vehicle, so legally speaking, everyone does need to be belted in some kind of way. So you'll see where we have harnesses in some spots, we have hooks with carabiners. We're going to have a lot of different ways for us to restrain you guys. Now, it's not moving itself. This is no Rose Parade. There's no motor. There's no steering wheel. These are all tractor trailers hauled by John Deere tractors. That does mean that the only person with any control over the vehicle is the guy driving the tractor at the very front of the train, which means that everyone on the unit will be free to bring booze with them. Now, it's Mardi Gras in New Orleans. They're going to take us up on that offer. I give them about a 70% chance there'll be a ship of at least half-drunken fools by the end of the night, possibly fully drunken. And if you strap them in, you can mitigate quite a bit of damage. Now, as you can see, if you do fall over the side, well, you can swing for a sec. We'll haul you back in, I promise. Then again, there's the occasional person that disregards these rules. Some of you may have seen that very infamous video by now from this year, where a man fell off the top floor of a float because he decided he didn't need to be belted in. He was in the FO part of the FAFO scenario, if you will. So I think he found out when he broke his shoulder on the pavement that it probably saves you a lot of time and stress to just strap yourself in and follow the rules. Now, I digress. So back to my points though. So we have, first off, bathrooms, because I know someone's going to ask about bathrooms. Well, once you get on the float, you're not allowed to get off. You can see where the latch here is on the outside, and it's inconvenient to reach. We don't want people getting off while they're rolling, because that is how accidents happen, and accidents are going to find ways to happen anyway, so we're going to try to minimize them as much as possible. You're going to be on the float for anywhere from 4 to 10 hours, depending on your position in the lineup of parades, which does mean that we will provide you with all the facilities you're going to need. So in the case of this, we're going to have porta potties. Nothing fancy. We haven't made it to running water, guys. Nothing's going to flush, but you're also not just going to have a bucket with a target on it that says good luck. We're going to give you some porta potties so you'll have a door, a seat, and some privacy in case you need to have a movement while in movement. Now, the 2 porta potty closets on this one are going to be these 2 right here on the first floor. Because with 60 drunk people, you're going to want more than 1 bathroom on this small space. So we got you covered. Now, there are 3 rules we use for building parades. We keep them simple. Rule number 1 and rule number 2 are going to be prerequisites to qualify for your permit, because there are more crews than there are permits. So not everyone is going to get a show. If you are going to get a show, we want you to prove you've got a good one. So you have to have 14 floats to qualify and 7 marching groups. Now, marching groups are mostly high school marching bands, which is a big deal for them. They are competing for grant money for their school programs in a lot of cases. So this is going to be some of the most impressive performances you will see. We also have some college marching bands out there for fun, second lines, cheer groups, and dance troops, and themed marchers, and things like that. Now, the third and final rule is you can't have more than 45 floats in one parade. However, 3 rules turned out to be 1 rule too many for us, and 45 floats somehow didn't sound like enough. So we made up another loophole to make them longer, and that is if we strap a bunch of similar-looking floats together, like a train, and we just use 1 tractor, it has somehow now become 1 float. It is called a super float, so it gets a fun, fancy title, but it just counts as 1 of your 45 like all the rest of them do. So I imagine you're picking up what I'm putting down by now, but these 4 strikingly similar-looking green floats around us, that is, in fact, 1 4-car-long super float. And if we had it lined up like it usually is, it would extend from the bay door all the way to the Pegasus to make it more visually arresting, if you will. But nonetheless, this still kind of serves our purposes. And while you're looking at this being like, that is very big, and they probably shouldn't get much bigger than that. Well, I mean, you're right. They probably shouldn't get much bigger than that. But that doesn't mean they don't. They absolutely do. These are average. There are dozens of these this size in Mardi Gras. Most of them are made by us. They get all the way up to 9 cars long, also made by us. But so there are only 2 of those. Now, the one of them's in Orpheus. Its name is Smoky Mary, and it's a train, so it looks like a giant model train. I'm also going to be honest with you guys. I saw Orpheus this year. I only counted 8 cars. I think we lost the caboose somewhere along the way. But regardless, it's normally 9 cars long. The other one is Pontchartrain Beach, and that one's an Endymion, which rolls on the Saturday before Mardi Gras every year. If either one of these were in the warehouse, they would extend from the bay door back there all the way to the white wall down there, the robot room that we are about to approach for our final stop. Before I open the floor for questions, seeing as how the first one is always how do we make turns, the answer is we try not to. We have very few turns. There's basically 3. 1 to get on the route, 1 to get off the route, and 1 to turn into the convention center, and that's more or less it. We will break them down into more manageable chunks of 3s, 4s, and 5s or whatever in order to get them to the parade route on Napoleon. But once we get to the foot of the route, we assemble them like a snake, turn on the St. Charles, you're off to the races for 7 miles in a more or less straight line until you get to Canal Street. But if anyone has any other questions, feel free to fire away.
Oh my God, I found Willie Nelson. Our sculpting robot is a true world citizen.
All right, guys, so for our last stop, we have the robot room with our CNC router, Pixie. She's posted up by the table over here because she just finished making a relief yesterday before she went on break. Now, she is a computer numerical control router, so it's the same kind of robot they use to build cars. However, ours is differently equipped. In a car factory, she would more likely have lasers, claws, saws, welding tools, presses, things like that. Ours instead has drill bits. And if you take a look right here in the back of the room, you can see the silver and yellow sawhorse in the back where the drill bits are stored hanging down. There are 2 positions Pixie likes to work in. She can either work by the table where she makes reliefs, or she can swing down that track to the far side. We're hidden back there under that snow pile. There is a pedestal where she makes upright statues, like the bottle we saw at the very beginning of the tour, or the strange lion-headed man being eaten by a snake while having wings as well. I don't know what's going on. It's a very loud statue. There's lots happening there. But so that's where she makes upright stuff. She doesn't really make a lot of Mardi Gras props for the most part, to be honest with you, because we like them to be made by hand as often as possible for tradition's sake, but we are also not going to miss deadlines over tradition. So for about the 7 weeks leading up to Mardi Gras, she was just spitting out Mardi Gras props nonstop. But for about 11 to 10 months out of the year, she's going to work on large-scale corporate private interest things. Typically, that's going to be large-scale ad campaigns for literally large-scale statues. So last spring, we made some 9-foot tall CeraVe lotion bottles. In the summer, we made some 19-foot tall Chick-fil-A cows. But the cows were fun because they were like 25 separate parts each. And it took at least 3 days before you could even tell it was going to be a cow. And I got to watch them build them like a jigsaw puzzle before we shipped them off to Times Square in New York. We make Raising Cane's dogs all the time whenever they open a new location. We have one of them up on display in the second. We also make props for movies. So some of the movies we've worked on are Renfield with Nicolas Cage, Five Nights at Freddy's with Josh, whatever his name is from the Hunger Games, and the Haunted Mansion with Owen Wilson and a variety of other people. I haven't seen that movie. I don't know who's in it. But we made a bunch of props for all of those movies. They were all shot in New Orleans in the last 3 years. Now, people tend to get intimidated when they see automation, and I understand robots are scary, not just in a Terminator or Skynet kind of sense, but in the much more realistic coming for your job sense. Thankfully, we don't really have much to worry about down here because there's a laundry list of stuff she can't do on her own. Some of it's obvious, like she can't paint or polish or paper mache, sand or design, but some of it's less obvious. She does not insert an armature. While a CNC router can work with multiple materials like metal, clay, styrofoam, wood, and all these things, it's not as fond of it when you put them together in the same project. When it moves from one resistance material to the next, it gets a little wonky with the drill. So to make things simple, we take solid blocks of styrofoam and make solid styrofoam statues. We send them down to the sculpting base that we saw earlier, and that is where we insert the armature and add extra details onto them because the robot's not really very good at making hands or feet or faces. They tend to look like Slender Man. So we're gonna always have to do extra work after the fact. Thankfully, for my sake, she has not figured out how to do tours yet, so no robot overlords coming for our jobs yet. And the name Pixie is a strange name for a robot, and I get it. A lot of people tend to think it's an acronym. That was my guess when I took the first tour as well. Turns out it doesn't stand for anything. She is named after a real lady whose nickname was Pixie. Her name was Geraldine Hall Pixie Knocking, and she started here as the original secretary in the 40s. Now, over the 47-year course of her career, she rose from secretary to the executive vice president of Current Studios. And it's not much of a stretch to say we might not all be here in this warehouse today, what as it may be, if it had not been for Miss Pixie. So we didn't just name a robot after her, but we also put her into the mural as the belle of the ball. So she is right next to the drill bits, and she is the lady with the peacock collar, the tiara, and the white flowers. That is Miss Pixie Knocking herself. That is her actual face, as painted by an artist. And there is a picture of Miss Pixie right by the Superman logo, so you guys can take a look and see how well you think they actually did. There's also going to be a video on the other side of that logo, so you can get an idea of what the robot looks like when it is A, clean, and B, in action, because it will be neither of those things today. Now, that does conclude what I have prepared for you guys today, but if you have any lingering questions, I'm going to hang out between Oscar and Sam here, and I will be glad to answer them. Tips are appreciated. Make sure you guys don't miss where it says more photo ops this way.
Superman.
Whereas the Harpy over there is made of mostly Devon, but they're also mostly hollow. And they're also not like I said, rules are just suggestions.
Look at this one. Crazy looking. Queen Elizabeth right there. Hey, just if you guys didn't know, to all my subscribers, I love you. Don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you so much for checking out the tour with me, you guys. Had a lot of fun here. I definitely highly recommend coming to Mardi Gras World if you ever come over to New Orleans and take this tour here and see all these floats. It's really cool. Spencer D, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.